For the last 24 hours or so, I have been playing a lot of Rise of Eterna 2. In fact, I'm basically done with the game. And what I can tell you is right now, if you're even thinking about getting it, you should pick it up. Because you have until the 23rd to get it for only $6.79 on the Nintendo eShop. At that price, it is an easy recommend. Now, at the original price of $19.99, is it worth it? Well, that's what we're gonna have to find out here. So sit back, let's hang out, and let's talk about Rise of Eterna 2, and is it worth it for you? Is it a game for you? We'll find out. Anyway, before we get into that, please hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel grow and means the world to me. Anyway, so Rise of Eterna 2 has a really interesting story, I would say. Well, sometimes the makeup of the story is a little bit predictable and at times a little too traditional for me. The actual characters and their impact on the story are what really shine through, and not even the main characters. It's sort of the support characters and some of the other NPCs that really add a lot of spice to the story itself. Now, in this game, though, you do play as an orphan child by the name of Jacked or Yacked. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name. I don't want to get all linguistic on anyone, but they use J's in weird spots, which would typically be like a ya kind of sound, but I don't know. It sounds better to call him Jacked, and so that's his name. Anyway, Jack has kind of a messed up childhood. His father was killed while serving in the military while defending a thriving empire by the name of Ars Rare. Unfortunately for Jack's dad, while he was actually serving Ars Rare, this is when the nation itself was collapsing, and they ended up succumbing to just like rebel forces and different bandit groups that would attack. And so while defending Ars Rare against one of these bandit groups, Jack's dad was killed. And only a year after his death, Jack's mother ended up succumbing to her own sadness, which is a nice way to say that she basically offed herself. So Jack was left as an orphan, where he was then picked up by the academy to learn to be a soldier. Now, with only one goal in his mind, and that's to go back to Ars Rare and to defeat every last one of these bandits, namely the one who he blames for it all, known as the Destroyer. Jack easily raised through the ranks and became the best student in his class, and in fact became one of those students that a lot of them were looking at. Like, so when he graduated, he was a soldier that many of the higher ups were paying attention to. They had already had plans for him. Now, on the other side, the other kind of main character we have is childhood friend of Jack, and her name is Celia. Now, she has almost the same story in the fact that she is an orphan as well, but except for being taken in by the academy, she was ended up taken on by the parish, if you will, where she learned how to be a healer, and she learned how to make potions and things of that nature. Not long after Jack graduated and was ready to fulfill his duties, he was actually put on guard duty of a prison. It just so happened that this is the same prison that Celia went to often to bless and heal some of the prisoners. And lo and behold, it just so happens that on this visit, there is a prison break. And so Jack comes in to save her with his trusty, little overweight friend, Armand, who is a great character. Armand is a dog, by the way, and everyone makes jokes about him being overweight, which is not fair, because he's just a big boy. He's actually one of the best characters in the game, not just because he's an awesome dog, but also because he has the ability as a scout where he can detect different traps, and later on in the game, traps actually become like a big pain in the butt, and having him there really helps out. Well, anyway, Jack ends up saving Celia, finds out that Celia can actually fight pretty well on her own, and then they discover that this was more than a prison break. And this then starts them on a very special, important mission to go track down the Destroyer. And from here, the game really does take off. I think the coolest thing is basically straight out the gate, there's a lot of characters that join your team, a lot of people that you run into, and they just add like a whole lot of spice to the game. I just really love what they did with some of your teammates from here on. Like, they're a diverse group of people, not only in just how they interact and what their thoughts are on everything and how they interact with the story itself, but also how they interact in combat. Everybody's kind of tied to their own class, so it's really important to have a diverse group out there. You're gonna at times need a thief. At times you're gonna need someone who can take a lot of damage, a good tank. So just having that diversity really helps out. And it really helps too because the characters themselves are really likable. Even the ones that are kind of dicks are still likable. But I know what you're thinking right now, and that is, okay, cool, story sounds pretty cool, a lot of the characters sound cool, but what about the gameplay? What type of gameplay are we talking about? Now, this is a strategy RPG, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, they do not reinvent the wheel at all. In fact, out of all the strategy RPGs I've been playing lately, this one might be one of the more basic, one of the more just simple, traditional Go type strategy RPGs. There are some components of it that do match with something like Fire Emblem, as when you are in attack mode or being attacked yourself, if you are adjacent to another character, that will build up a bond, which will create a conversation later on, like at a camp where you guys can grow together a little bit and you find out more about their story and more about the story in general. But there isn't much else besides that. Like, each character has their own abilities, right? Like, Celia is a healer, so she can heal. Now, there's not a lot of direction on that, though. Like, heal, you would think like you could choose what you do to heal, but no, you just heal. So it means that if you have poison and you're missing some HP, she'll just run over to you, heal, and like poison's cured and your HP's back up. And honestly, attacking works basically the same way. You go up, you hit the attack button, and they attack. It doesn't turn into like a subset of different options that you have and different skills, although there are skills that you can acquire. Almost all of them are passive. There's a few that kind of change things up a little bit, but for the most part, it's all just passive skills, which do help, don't get me wrong, and they do add a little bit of customization, as well as, of course, having your equipment. And then there's these things called gems that will also give you some stat boosts, and those two can be interchanged between characters. You will find a number of them while running around, and it's important to pay attention because you really can stack these things, end up with a really powerful character. But really, besides that, there isn't much more to the combat. If you played a strategy RPG or you're familiar with that game style, that's basically what it is, if not even a little bit more basic than what you're thinking of. But it doesn't really ruin the experience at all, even with its simplistic gameplay, just because it is still a lot of fun and the different characters do add quite a bit. Now, I will say a couple complaints that I have. Number one, the equipment. It's not This game isn't great at being a loot chaser type game. Like, you're not going to find a ton of different equipment to change your characters with or anything like that. And also, it's a little bit on the easy side. This is one of those games that I rarely have any problems defeating even a boss. Now, there will be a few that can give you a hard time, but for the most part, the game's relatively easy. Now, have I had any performance issues, anything like that? No. Everything is ran really well, never had any crashes. It's been good in that regard. I also have to say, I enjoy the artwork. I really do. And the music. Both of those aspects of the game, I think, fit really well. Especially the artwork. Like, one thing that they do during combat is they will zoom in on the characters fighting. And it's really cool. Like, it just adds a little bit more depth to the game. And it also just highlights how much this art style works with this game. Now, ultimately, I would suggest picking it up. This is a fun game. I really enjoyed a lot of it. Could it have been a little bit more? Yes. Especially while I'm playing it next to like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's not that, but it's also not $50 like Final Fantasy Tactics. So if you really love like strategy RPGs, for me, I would suggest picking it up. Honestly, I give this one a score of 7.8 out of 10. Not exactly like a banger or anything like that, but it's a really solid, good game. It's a lot of fun if you like strategy RPGs. Now, if you're one of those people who's kind of hit or miss with you, maybe wait for a sale. Although, there again, I will say this, if you're even thinking about getting it, I would get it now because right now it is on sale for under $7 and it is easily worth that. But I want to know what your thoughts are. Have you played the first one? Have you looked into this one? Is this something that caught your eye? Maybe you saw the price tag and you're like, hey, that seems like a good deal. Or maybe the game just sucks. Either way, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Anything about Rise of Eterna 2 or anything else. Let me know what games you're playing, what game you're hoping to pick up. Anything and everything in that comment section below helps a lot, and I really appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.